this third method is probably going to be the hardest kind that you have to deal with. And if you look at example 4 on page 331, you notice again that it is the same problem. We still have $1,000. We still have 18% APR, but it says that we're using the average daily balance. So we have those 3 methods. And the easiest thing to do for average daily balance is to draw a chart. So we're going to look at that. So let's take what we start out with and let's do $1,000. And in this problem, it says that assume that you sent a payment of $50 on April 1st, and that it takes 10 days for this payment to be received and recorded. It's really important to know when you do average daily balance how many days are in the month that you're talking about. And in April, we have 30 days. So we know that we have 30 days. And it says that it takes 10 days for your payment to process, which means that you owe $1,000 for 10 days. So, you know, for the first 10 days of the month, you owe that bank $1,000. And then your payment processes, and you send in a payment of $50. So 1,000 minus 50 is $950. So that's what happens starting on the 11th day. So it took your 10 days for it to process. You're now down to $950. Now, if you made a purchase, you would go over here and you would add what the purchase was, and you'd say that's how many days it is. So in this one, you didn't do anything else for the rest of the month. You just sent that payment in, and that was it. Now, since nothing else happened and you've already used 10 days, if April has 30 days, you have 20 days left. And that means you owed the bank $950 for the remaining 20 days of the month. And we're going to do an average. This is called average daily balance. And you know that when you take an average of something, like let's say you had grades of 100 and 98 and 93, you would add all 3 of those grades together and you would divide by 3 to get an average. Well, in this instance, you could write 1,000 down 10 times, and you could write 950 down 20 times, add all those things up, and you would divide by 30. But what we do in these type of problems is instead of writing 1,000 down 10 times, we just say 1,000 times 10. And so when I do 1,000 times 10, it adds a 0 on it and gives me 10,000. Then I do 950 times 20, and I get 19,000. Now, it doesn't mean that we owe 10,000 or that we owe 19,000. We're just trying to get an average. So it's like we've written down 1,000 10 times and we've written down 950 20 times, because those are the days that we owe that to the bank. So in order to get an average, you add everything up. So we're going to add these up, and we get 29,000. Now, we don't know 29,000, but that's the way that we would get an average for each day. And there are 30 days in the month of April. So in order to get an average, we would take 29,000 and we would divide it by 30, and we would get $966.67. That's what I owe as an average per day. You know, some days I owe 1,000, some days I owe 950, but my average that I owe every day is $966.67. Now, before, we found the interest by taking the 1,000 and multiplying it by the 0.015, or the 950 by the 0.015. In this one, since this is average daily balance, what we do in our formula for I equals PRT is we use the average for our principal. We use the interest rate that they gave us, the yearly interest rate. And the way your book does this, and there are different ways to do it, but the way your book does this is it takes the time and it says, okay, Since April has 30 days in it and a year has 365, we're looking at this as 30 out of those 365. And I just take my calculator and I punch in 966.67 times 0.18 times 30 over 365, and I get $14.30. Now keep in mind, this is the same problem we've done for the last two examples, and we've gotten a different interest each time. This is the amount of interest that we're going to have. Now, so if I ask you, if I said, okay, what's the interest? That would be your answer. If I said to you, how much do you now owe on this credit card? If you go back up and you look, you owed $1,000 in the beginning. You made a payment of $50 and you owe $950 now. So if we take that $950, which is the last thing that we owed, and we add our interest to it. So $950 plus the interest that we calculated, which was $14.30. Our new balance would be $964.30. So if I ask you for the interest, this is the answer. If I ask you for the new balance, this would be the answer. And that's how you deal with average daily balance.